So have you ever wondered, where does your club shaft need to be at the top of the backswing? Does it need to be laid off, down the line, or across the line? And really there's no right answer to that. It all depends on your swing length, the length of your golf swing, and your ability to shallow the golf club. So we're going to get into all the three different ways and how it matches up with your specific golf swing, and really what one is the right one for you specifically. So I'm Jonathan Chown with JChownGolf. Let's dive right into it. So, laid off club shaft at the top of the swing, where that club is pointing a little bit to the left of your target. Now, for players to make that work, I prefer to see them with a shorter golf swing. Now, why that is because when you have a shorter golf swing, so shorter parallel at the top, you have very, very little time to be able to shallow the golf club. So I see a lot of players as a fault with a short swing with an across the line shaft. Now when you're across the line, you've got then a lot of work to do to be able to get the center of mass of the club, which is the balance point of the club, which is right near. It's probably not going to balance today because of the wind. There we go. This point here to get and pitch behind you. That's shallowing. Shorter swing. What's the chances of you doing that in this short space of time with an across the line shaft? Pretty much zero. We see some golfers do it, but they're very, very few and far between. So I prefer to see players at the top of their swing with a shorter backswing to have a laid off shaft, because then it makes it easy for them to be able to shallow the golf club, because guess what? That center of mass is pretty much already behind you. I wouldn't want to see you here, this laid off. That would be a bit pointless. You'll get it way too shallow behind you. You'd most likely actually steepen the club in transition from there. But a little bit laid off is fine. And then that would also be great for golfers who generally struggle to shallow the golf club anyway. Shortening up your swing and making sure you're having a laid off shaft. You've got a short golf swing, you need that laid off shaft because of the shallowing. So if you struggle with shallowing, you can just shorten that golf swing, laid off shaft, and boom, you'll start to do it quite nicely. So you need to have a shorter golf swing if you're having a laid off shaft. If you struggle with shallowing it, that's also you want. So let's talk about a drill to get this into your golf swing. So we're going to talk about the same drill for each point here, but we're going to tailor it a little bit differently to each of them. It's extremely simple, but you can do it with practice swings and you can do it with hitting golf balls as well. So all we're going to do is grab a tee, put the tee in the butt end of the club just like this. So just put it in there so you've got it just poking out. Now, like we know, laid off shaft, club is pointing a little bit to the left of our target. So if that tee, where that tee is going to be pointing, it's actually pointing more to the right and in front of us here. So that's where we want to point the tee at the top of the backswing. So really making sure that tee is just pointing out in front of you a little bit. We don't want it pointing behind. We don't want it pointing dead straight behind us. Just a little bit out in front. That's going to create that more laid off shaft. Again, if we want that short swing, we have to do this movement. So let's give one a go here. There we go. So I would recommend, yes, hitting balls, of course. You've got to hit balls to make a change, but really make sure you're doing enough swings beforehand, getting a good feel. So really getting up to the top, absorbing and really being conscious of what that feels like, and then translating it into the golf ball. So down the line, club shaft, where our club is pointing down the target line. So for that specific shaft angle, we've got options on our swing length. We can have it slightly shorter. Some players can make that work if your ability to shallow the golf club is okay. Let's say you don't struggle to shallow it. You still need to shallow it a little bit with that down the line shaft with a short swing, but you can manage it. Some golfers can do that. Hard to do, but manageable. Or you can have what we call more a normal length backswing. So that's where that club shaft is parallel to the ground at the top of the swing. So anywhere from kind of your normal short swing to parallel to the ground at the top, a down the line shaft will work just fine because you have more time to be able to shallow the golf club, of course. So that's where swing length is very much tied to your ability to shallow the golf club. So we want a little bit longer of a swing, not quite, it can be pretty full, but in between short and normal length. So drill to do for it, of course. Exactly the same thing. Put that tee in the butt end of the club, and then where do we want this tee pointing now? We want it pointing dead behind us. So it's like someone standing behind you, or you're filming your swing, which guys, please film your swing when you're working on it, otherwise you don't know what you're doing. So have that tee pointing dead at the camera behind you. So you can do that You can have a little pause at the top as well, which you could do for the shorter swing, also with a more laid off club. So get it there, pointing behind you. So you could have a little pause, making sure you're there, and then swing through. Absolutely, you can go about doing that, or you can do it just the same way as we did it with the other one. Just make sure it's pointing dead straight behind you, but make sure you have a swing that is an appropriate length to it, which is more of a normal length golf swing, either at parallel at the top or just a bit shorter. So let's hit one here, make sure that swing length is good. Of course, make sure you have a good ability to shallow the golf club doing this. So, across the line backswings, where that is your club shaft pointing to the right at the top of the backswing. Now, this is something that is pretty much a fault for pretty much most golfers. Why that is because a lot of golfers don't have the swing length or the ability to shallow the golf club to match this up. This is why I change this with a lot of golfers, a lot of golfers, but I have a fair few that make it work perfectly. So, swing length. We've talked about the short, we've talked about medium length. So yes, we need a longer golf swing to be able to do this. So what golfers would call an overswing. So an overswing isn't a fault if you have an across the line shaft and if you have enough turn to match up with that. But that's another video for another time for sure. So we want that longer golf swing. Why do we want that longer golf swing? Because now we've got the maximum amount of time to possibly shallow that golf club. So like we said with the shorter swing, we don't want to cross the line because we don't have enough time to be able to make this move. Like I said, we've got all the time in the world now. So if our ability to shallow the golf club is quite good, and let's say you're a player who shallows the golf club excessively, you could do this and then you would no longer shallow the golf club excessively because you've got all that time. You can then get that club shallowing nicely. So you could even be a golfer who feels like they've maybe rushed their transition. Quite a lot of those golfers will be absolutely suited for having a longer golf swing, have that little bit more across the line shaft because you've got so much more time to perform that transition. That's why long golf swings aren't necessarily a fault. It all depends on the player, of course. So you need that long golf swing and you need a good ability to be able to shallow it, even though you do have more time to perform it. I've seen some golfers make a medium length swing with a golf across the line shaft work, because they're great at shallowing the golf club. Like I said, it's very rare you see a short golf swing work with this because it's just you have to do that movement so fast, it's crazy. I've seen it, yes I have, but I can guarantee most of you out there will not make that work. I certainly couldn't make that work by any means. I'll be steep as a Jeep in the downswing doing that. So, drill, of course, what do we need to do? Tee in the butt end of the club. So this is actually something I worked on quite a bit in my playing days because I was trying to hit the ball a lot further. Back then I didn't hit the ball as far as I do now. And swing length is something that's very advantageous to be able to hit the ball further. So I was always working with my coach, making sure that we were matching up shaft angle and swing length. So I was trying to either one, see that club out the corner of my eye, kind of like a John Daly feel, but we were working with butt end of the club pointing behind us. So we can have a tee in there, pointing behind you, just like we're doing with all the other ones here. We just want it now pointing behind. Make sure you've got that long swing and you're good to go. You can pause it if you want, or you can just go and rip it. So tee point behind me, long swing, and then that's going to be matching up that shaft angle a little bit better. So guys, as you can see, there is no right or wrong way to do it. There is for specific swing lengths, but again, then it just matters about your ability to shallow the golf club. So that's where my videos, I'll say there's stuff you can and can't do, but when it comes to the individual basis, there's actually nothing that you can or can't do. It all depends whether the individual can do it. That's why with my videos, I make them to be able to give you knowledge about the golf swing so you can figure out almost yourself. And of course, you can have lessons with me online on Skillist, which there'll be a link down in the description for that. One-on-one lessons, just you and me. We can do that for sure. But having the knowledge of your golf swing here is so important. Having the knowledge of how different shaft angles at the top, how they match up with different types of movements. So, if you enjoyed this video, of course, click that like button. If you want more golf instruction just like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button too to be notified every single time I put out a video. So, match up your swing length properly and your shaft angle, and you'll be playing better golf.